I'm going to replace the grommets on this racket, but before I cut the strings out and start replacing the grommet, I'm going to take my set of grommets and make sure that the grommets that I have for this particular racket is the correct grommets. So this is an Aero Pro drive and it says APD right on here. I also want to check to make sure that I've got mid-size grommets for a mid-size and oversized grommets for an oversize. Might be a good idea to just take the strings themselves and line them up on the outside of the racket to make sure that the strings themselves are going to line up. You can stare and compare everything either on the outside or the inside just to make sure that it looks like these grommets are going to fit. And what I'm trying to do here is just lay the grommets out so that they're in the correct position for what I'm going to do. The Babolat rackets now, or this particular racket, has a lot of different pieces to it, so that's about how they go in there. These two pieces now, let me show you them separately. And that's the pieces that go on the outside of the racket, right here. If I put them down this way, they pretty much line up so that if I put this grommet in upside down, it'll go in just fine. But I'll end up with another problem later on. Let me try to give you a close-up of this, what I'm talking about. All right, look at this top grommet now. This one right here is a thin grommet. This one right here is a fatter grommet. This is for a tie-off hole. This is not for a tie-off hole. The inside diameter of the inside and outside diameter of this grommet and this grommet is not the same. This particular grommet now that we're talking about here has got 17 grommets on it, individual grommets. This racket has 19 crosses. So what's happening is this grommet right here is going from the top cross, the second cross here, down to the next to the bottom cross down here. This grommet hole right here, which is grommet hole number 11, is a tie-off hole for the crosses. So if I put the grommet in this way, where my tie-off grommet is down at the bottom, everything's going to work out right. If I put it in this way, where my tie-off hole is up at the top, then when I come to tie off the crosses when stringing two-piece, I'm going to have a problem. So you want to make sure when you put this piece in, you got it in this way and not this way. Now I'm going to go on and take the strings out of it and show you how I replace the grommets. Okay, I've taken the bottom piece, which is this piece right here, and the lower side piece, which is this piece here, and this whole side piece out, which is this piece right here. Some of these grommets, like this one, are pretty much all bent up and it'd be very hard to get them back in there. Grommets like this one that goes in the bottom very, very seldom fail. This right here is a side piece grommet, and this side piece grommet you could actually give back to the customer if you wanted to, if it's in pretty good shape. Just in case he ever has any grommets up here break, you could replace them, or you could use them yourself to replace grommets. But anyway, what I want to point out is this side piece grommet now, when I took it off, you can see right here that that side piece went into the bottom 4 holes on the bumper guard right here. That's important to note when you're going to start reinstalling this. Okay, I've taken the strings and the grommets out of this racket, and then I took a damp rag and cleaned the racket up pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is put the grommets in. What I normally do is start from the bottom and work my way up the side. So first thing I'll do is put in this one. Then I'll take this grommet, make sure that I've got the tie-off hole in the bottom, and this one, and install from the bottom in this way, and from the side in this way. But remember now, these top 4 grommet holes have to go in the bumper guard, which goes up on top. So when I put this one in, I need to put it in this way, okay, and work my way up on it. And then, okay, after making sure that I've got the tie-off grommet down here at the bottom, I put the side grommet in the bumper guard in the top 4 holes. Then I just sort of put it in, pressing it with my fingers all the way up, and it went in just fine. Now I think I'm going to switch around just a little bit. Rather than putting in this side and putting in these last 4 over here, I'm going to put in the top piece and bend this grommet all the way around and then put in the side pieces. Okay, I've got the grommet in on this side, and I'm trying to put the grommet in on the top, but the holes in the racket and the holes in the top grommet strip don't quite line up. So what I've done is I've taken a Phillips screwdriver, a small one, and I'm going to use that as a pry bar to go through the grommet and then through the racket, and then pull that grommet over just a little bit and it'll stretch it out. When I do this, then I should be able to take the grommet strip and put it right in there. That actually worked pretty good now, but when I got to the side right here, it appears like this top strip has to go underneath this bottom strip. So what I did is I took my awl and pried up on that bottom strip just a little bit to pop it over. When I did that, my grommets popped out just a little bit. Let me see if I can just, well, I can push them back in with my finger. Yeah, I can push them right in with my finger. So everything's fine. I'm seated all the way around real good. I guess you can see it maybe this way a little bit better. But all these grommets are sticking or protruding through the racket now. I want to make sure of that, because if they're not protruding through and I go through with a string, I'll actually collapse that grommet inside the racket. It won't be sticking through the racket and it won't protect that racket. Okay, I'm done putting the grommets in now, and I want to make one final check around the racket just to make sure that all my grommets are seated properly. And just go around the racket, making sure that all the grommets are sticking through. They do want to, or have a tendency to sort of ease themselves out. Also make sure that you got the tie-off holes down at the bottom. If they're not down at the bottom and somebody tries to string this 2-piece later on, then they'll end up with a lot of problems. Make sure they're all sticking through all the way around the racket. Right here you can see where they're starting to pull out just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but when I push on them just a little bit, they go right back into the normal position. And while I'm stringing the racket, these grommets, especially down here and up here, have a tendency to pull out of the grommet when you, or excuse me, the frame, when you pull tension on those strings. So make sure when you're pulling tension on this string down there in the corner, that when you pull it, you're holding this in with your thumb with quite a bit of pressure so it doesn't back out. I'm now ready to start stringing the racket, and when I string this racket now, some people will adjust the tension up a couple of pounds when after replacing the grommets, just in order to give the grommets time to seat down. I don't necessarily do that. I just pull at normal tension. So I'm going to set the tension, and then start pulling. When I get down to these bottom grommets now here in the corner is what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to, when I pull tension, these grommets are going to want to come out. So what I'm going to do is hold them in with my thumb with quite a bit of pressure, and then pull tension on the grommet so that the grommet doesn't pull out. If the grommet pulls out, then the string has got a real good chance of cutting into the frame. Especially on some of your thinner, weaker frames. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Again, I'm going to hold pressure and then pull tension. Once you get the tension on there, then it'll pretty much stay in all by itself. The upper grommets don't do it as much, but they still have a chance of doing it. So what I'm going to do is hold it in with my thumb while I'm pulling tension. I'm not real sure how well you can see this, but this is another Babolat racket. If you look right here, this grommet right here, this grommet right here, and this grommet right here, which are the three outside mains on this Babolat racket, have a flare on them to where it looks like this right here is sort of like a horn looking. Same thing here, same thing here. This grommet and this grommet are tie-off holes. This one right here is just the sixth main hole, and it's not a tie-off.